So let's talk about Bitcoin. What is it really? I mean, beyond all the hype, beyond the crazy headlines, what are we actually looking at here? That's what we're going to dig into today. Let's get started. You hear this all the time, right? The big fear is that Bitcoin is the new MySpace. You know, it was first, it was cool for a minute, but it was just a proof of concept, destined to get crushed by the next big thing, the Facebook of crypto. And look, that's a fair question. It's a real concern. But what if it's just the wrong question entirely? Yeah, what if we're not looking at an application that can be replaced? What if Bitcoin is more like the internet itself, like a fundamental protocol, the bedrock of our digital world? Think TCP/IP, the thing that literally makes the internet work. If you start thinking about it that way, well, that changes the whole game.
Okay, so one of the biggest hurdles for Bitcoin, a real PR problem, is that people judge it like it's supposed to be for buying coffee. And if you look at it that way, yeah, it kind of fails, right? It's too slow, the fees can get high, it's just not great for your morning latte. But here's the thing, that's like criticizing a cargo ship for not being a race car. It was never designed for that job in the first place.
And this gets to a really critical difference, payments versus settlement. See, when you swipe your credit card, Visa is just processing a promise of money. It feels instant, but the real money, the final settlement between the banks, that can take days. Bitcoin isn't trying to be Visa. It's more like SWIFT, the system banks use to settle huge sums with each other. It's a global settlement layer. And in that world, being a little slow isn't a bug. It's a feature. It's what gives you irreversible finality and trust. So to really get this, we've got to zoom out. Let's take a step back from the tech for a second and ask a really basic question. For literally thousands of years, humanity has been on this quest for good money. But what does that even mean? What actually makes something, well, money?
Yeah, economists have a term for this. They call them monetary goods. And the key thing here is you don't value them for what you can do with them. You can't eat them. You can't build a house with them. You value them simply because you know that other people will accept them in a trade. And if you look back through history, man, we've used everything for this. Shells, beads, even giant immovable stones.
All right, so let's see how Bitcoin stacks up against the classics, gold and fiat currency. And what you'll notice is pretty amazing. It sort of takes the best of both worlds, right? It's got the scarcity and durability of something like gold, but also the portability and divisibility of digital cash. In a lot of ways, it's actually an improvement on both. But pay close attention to that last row, scarce, because that right there is where Bitcoin enters a league of its own.
And this chart, this is the problem. This is exactly what good money is supposed to protect you from. Even with what we call low and steady inflation, the value, the actual purchasing power of government-issued money, like the dollar, just gets eaten away year after year. It's a melting ice cube. What a dollar could buy you 100 years ago versus today, it's not even close.
So this brings us to one of the biggest ideas behind Bitcoin, maybe the core investment case for a lot of people, that it's becoming a store of value for our digital age. You've probably heard the term digital gold. That's what this is about. The idea that it's designed to hold its value, to preserve your purchasing power over a really long time. And it all comes down to this one number, 21 million. That's it. That is the magic number. Think about it. We can always theoretically find more gold. And we know governments can and do print more money. But with Bitcoin, it's got a provably, mathematically finite supply. There will only ever be 21 million, period. It's written into the code and it cannot be changed.
And it gets better. The way those new coins are released into the world, it's perfectly predictable. The schedule is locked in. About every 4 years, the rate at which new Bitcoin are created gets cut in half. You might have heard of this. It's called the halving. And this process continues on this predictable curve until the very last fraction of a Bitcoin is mined, sometime around the year 2140.
Now, there's actually a way to measure this kind of scarcity. It's called the stock-to-flow ratio, and it basically tells you how hard an asset is, as in how hard is it to produce more of it. A higher number is better. And for all of human history, gold has been the undisputed king of hard money. But look at this chart. After the next halving, for the first time ever, Bitcoin's hardness is on track to actually surpass gold's.
Okay, but digital gold is really just one piece of the puzzle. It's not the whole story. Because Bitcoin isn't just some digital rock you put in a vault. It's a living, breathing, dynamic protocol. It's a foundation that you can actually build things on top of. It's the base layer for what could become a true internet of money.
This goes right back to that internet comparison we made earlier. Think about why TCP/IP, the internet's protocol, won. It was simple, it was open for anyone to use, and no single person controlled it. That made it irreplaceable.
But it had a huge flaw. The protocol itself didn't capture any of the value it created. Bitcoin has all those same winning features: simple, open, decentralized, but with one massive upgrade. It's financially native. The value of the network is baked right into the protocol's own asset, BTC.
It's kind of wild when you think about it. The people who built the internet's foundation literally changed the world, but they didn't capture a dime of the economic value. All that value flowed up to the applications built on top, to Google, to Amazon, to Facebook. Bitcoin is a design that fixes this fundamental problem. It solves that classic protocol dilemma.
All right, so now we're going to get a little sci-fi, but this is where things get really, really interesting. We are on the verge of an era where economic transactions aren't just happening between people. They're going to happen between autonomous AI agents. And that's going to create a whole new set of problems our current system just isn't ready for.
So you might be thinking, okay, so what? Why can't these AIs just use dollars or euros? Why not just open a bank account? The short answer is they can't. Our entire financial system was built by humans for humans. For an AI, it's not just clunky, it's fundamentally incompatible.
I mean, just think through the logistics. An AI doesn't have a passport, so how does it pass a background check? An AI works 24/7, 365. It doesn't understand banking hours. Its decisions happen in milliseconds. It can't sit around and wait 2 days for a transaction to settle. Every single part of our system that relies on a human in the loop becomes a massive bottleneck for an economy run by machines.
So the conclusion you come to is actually pretty simple, but it's also really profound. If you're going to have an algorithmic economy, you need algorithmic money. It's that simple. You need a form of money that is native to this new digital world, one that operates based on code and rules, not on people and rulers.
Okay, so let's tie this all together with one final huge idea. If Bitcoin really is a better form of money, and it works for individuals, and maybe it's even the future for AIs, then what about the next level up? What about entire countries? Could Bitcoin one day become a global reserve asset?
You know, there's this old economic principle called Fear's Law. It's kind of the opposite of the more famous Gresham's Law. And it basically says this: when people have a real choice, good money, the kind that actually holds its value, will eventually drive out the bad money. People aren't stupid. They will naturally move towards the better option over time.
And look, this isn't just some abstract theory anymore. We're already seeing the very, very early stages of this play out. You have an entire country, El Salvador, that's made it legal tender. The number of financial advisors putting it in client portfolios is exploding. You even have states in the US talking about putting Bitcoin in their strategic reserves. This is starting to happen. It's moving from the fringe to the mainstream.
So let's bring this all home. Bitcoin isn't really just one thing. It's this incredible, powerful combination of two different concepts. On one hand, it has the hard, provable scarcity of something physical, like gold. And on the other, it has the unstoppable network effects of a core internet protocol like TCP/IP. It really is the best of both of those worlds combined into something totally new.
Look, the future is clear. Our economy is becoming more automated, more algorithmic every single day. That new economy is going to need a native currency that speaks its language. So the real question isn't if we need algorithmic money. The only question left is, what's it going to